What's up, DIY squad? So in my basement, we've got some canvas prints and I want to hang up on the wall. That's the entryway, from the front door. The problem is they look a little bit boring on their own. So I'm going to practice my woodworking skills and we're going to make some frames for these to really make them pop. Let's go. To get started, we got to get some measurements taken. 23 3/4, 35 1/2. All right, so here's the plan. I'm doing a basic frame around the outside, so obviously the canvas print needs to fit inside the frame. To give this more of a modern feel, I want a 1/8 inch reveal or a gap surrounding the canvas print. The frame is going to be a 1/2 inch wide, so that means whatever size my canvas prints are, I'll have to add 1 1/4 inches to the total. My prints are 35 1/2 inches wide, which means my overall width will be 36 3/4. Now I need a way for the canvas to attach to the frames. I'm basically going to make a frame within a frame that the canvas can sit on top of, allowing me to attach the canvas from the back. My plan is to cut a rabbet to slide the second frame into. Now this might seem a little confusing, but hang in there because you're going to get it as we start building this. For the depth of the frame, I start with the depth of the canvas print, which is 3/4 inch. I'm using 1/2 inch plywood for the inner frame for the canvas to sit on. I also want a 1/4 inch gap under that frame for the mounting hardware. And I want the frame to stick above the prints by 1/4 inch. This takes the total depth to 1 3/4 inches. I start ripping down my boards to the depth of the frames we determined a second ago to be 1 3/4 inches. I'm using poplar for this project since I plan to paint these. The poplar paints very well. With these 8-inch boards, I can easily get 4 pieces out of each. Once I have them all ripped down, I can then work on the rabbet. Would it be considered a rabbet in this instance? Really, I'm just creating a lip for the canvas to sit on. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you would call this. As you can see on the end that I cut each board, leaving about 1/4 inch left. Now all I have to do is lay the face down and cut about 1/4 inch into the board for that sliver to be completely removed, thus giving me the rabbet, lip, shelf, or whatever we're calling it. But with that cut done, the small piece can be removed and voila, you have a rabbet, lip, shelf thingy. I decided to add a 45-degree bevel to the inside top of my frames. In this instance, it's easier to use the table saw than it is to use like a router or something. With the boards ripped down, we now need to chop them down to the lengths we need using the miter saw. Now, I never trust that when you push this down, that angle is going to be a perfect 90 degrees. I can try to get a level on there, but this tool I love the most. Turn it on, zero it out. It's going to show 0. Let's see if I can just lock this down. Then, when you bring your blade down, turn this and stick it right to your blade, and it should show 90. I'm showing 90.3. So then I can then just adjust the blade to make sure that's an even 90 to this surface as it's chopped down. I miter each cut to 45 degrees. I know I'm speed ramping these videos, but go slow with this. If you are off on these cuts on your corners, they will not fit perfectly, and it will be even harder to square your frame. Before I assemble the frame, I also go through and sand everything. It's way, way easier to do this now. It still feels very time consuming. Now I need to make the internal frame that the canvas will sit on. I choose to use 1/2 inch plywood for this. Don't worry, you won't be able to see it in the final product. Plus, it has the added benefit of being cheaper than buying hardwood. To cut the inner frame, just follow the same steps we just did by mitering the ends. All right, everybody, we got the table saw put away. We're done with all of our cutting. Let's start to assemble. So, what we've got here is we've got the frame right there. And then we've also got these pieces of the plywood that we ended up cutting down. Here's one of the frames that's already assembled. We end up putting the plywood on the inside of the frame. Remember that lip that we cut on the inside here? This plywood frame will then sit on the inside. It helps pull this thing square. It helps make it, a little bit more rigid. And then if you end up with one of these poplar boards that maybe has a bow in it or anything like that, it'll help pull it in and keep this straight. So to get this started, I've got a clamp that goes around the frame. This is a frame clamp. Now, if you don't have this, that's fine. There are plenty of things that you could use to kind of get it to hold it in there. You can use squares. You can even You can even use just a regular ratchet strap. Okay, got some extra clamps here, just to make sure that I've got my corners set up, of course my glue, and my finish nailer. Okay, and I think we're all set. All right, now I'm gonna tack nails in here just to hold this in place for a bit.
Although the glue would hold these just fine, I have limited number of clamps. As I grow with my hobbies, I will buy more, but for now these nails will have to hold it in place until the glue dries. This just means that I get to do some patchwork and sanding.
All right, everybody, so we are gonna start painting our frames, and I'm gonna end up using just the simple gun. The reason I'm using that is because the finish is amazing on it, and with them being frames, they're gonna be right at eye level. People are gonna get close up to it and all that stuff. I wanna make sure that there's no roller marks, no paint marks, no nothing. I want it smooth as glass. So that's why we're using the sprayer. As you can see, we've had to set up a Dexter style kill room. It's a lot of work to set up all this plastic and get everything all taped off, but I'm telling you, the finished product is amazing.
Now this is the first time I'm using the Graco paint sprayer. It works great for this, but it did take me a second to get used to the flow rate and pacing for the spray. One annoying thing about this particular one though is for a job like this, just be careful with the cord. It's easy to accidentally drag it over your painted area. I then install the hanging hardware and drill an extra hole through the plywood backing. This hole will be used to connect the canvas frames from the back. A tip I saw somewhere else online was to use playing cards as shims. This worked so well. It was easy to center the canvas and held it in place, allowing me to secure it from the back. An easy way to hang your frames perfect every time is use blue tape. I align the blue tape along the top edge of the frame and cut to the exact width of the frame. I then mark where the hanging brackets are by punching a hole through the tape. I then put the tape on the wall where the frame would go. With those holes in the tape, I know exactly where my screw will go. Now because I'm lazy, instead of getting a drill for the hole, I just jam the Phillips through it. It's drywall, it's easy, don't lose your mind over it. I use a magic eraser to clean off all of my pencil marks, I put in the drywall anchors, and hang my frames. Thank you for watching me on this frame build. I learned a lot and allowed me to improve my skills and show you how I tackle this project. If you're new here and would like to support this channel, please consider subscribing down below. It's completely free to you and it helps support me in bringing you new content. Alright DIY Squad, until next time.